Hey, y'all. Hey, welcome to the PowerWomen podcast.
This is a show where powerful women share their journeys, discuss powerful issues, and the men and women who help us rise.
And we are your host with three very different backgrounds and very different perspectives. I'm Brandy Jo Newman.
I'm Gayatri Agnew.
And I'm your power mom, Claire Brown. Hey, y'all. Hey, we are here today with our new season. I'm so excited. And Gayatri and Brandy Jo are here with me. And we are welcoming Sydney Rasch and Presley Turner today as our guests with their law firm. Ladies, please tell us who you are, tell us what you do, and what are we going to discuss today?
Go Press.
Yeah, so I am Presley Turner. I am one of the partners at Turner and Rasch, and we started our law firm in 2021. We are focused, mainly in Little Rock. That's where our office is located, but we service all of Arkansas. My main areas of practice are divorce, child custody, child support modifications, adoptions, and guardianships. And today we're going to be discussing kind of guiding women through divorces and custody modifications and how to go about that, as well as what it's like to be our own bosses and be women lawyers.
Nice.
Yes, absolutely. Just to add to that. So hi, I'm Sydney Rasch. And Presley and I started this together when we decided we didn't want to work for anybody else anymore. We just wanted to work together and work for ourselves. And it'll be 3 years in June since we started the firm, and we've grown a lot since then. A lot of times in part thanks to the PowerWomen. And, we love what we do. We do work with a lot of women. We work with men too, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But definitely we do a lot of work. So we do family law. I also do real estate law and random civil litigation. I want to sue you. Yeah, I can help you. So yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Whatever it takes. Very nice. And, you may handle divorce, but you're both married women.
Yes. Happily married.
Yes. Very, very happy.
I'm happily divorced.
Yes. And that's what we like to hear.
Just throwing that in there too. It's a little bit of there's happiness on both ends of that spectrum.
There is.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think we see that a lot where we meet women in situations where the divorce is the best thing that they can possibly do. I think Sydney and I, we are fortunate that we are married and we like our marriages, and my husband's a good dad, but I think there are a lot of situations where we see people a lot happier when they do in their marriage. So absolutely, definitely happiness on both spectrums.
Oh, and I'll tell you, my husband jokes with me all the time about me being a divorce lawyer. He's like, "You're just preparing to leave me, right?" I'm like, "No, you're good. You're good."
Wow. That's a little bit of paranoia.
Yeah. I told him it's not necessary.
Claire, can I ask them a question? I've been dying to ask them since we knew we were going to do this.
Yes.
So
no permission
the first
needed.
time I contacted the lawyer who did my divorce was actually the first time in my life, in my 40 solid years of living, that I ever needed a lawyer for anything. And so I'm just curious for both of you as badass female attorneys who work with tons of clients, but including women, what do you wish women knew or felt comfortable doing when they approach you or come to you to engage you as their lawyer potentially?
I could definitely speak to that. I just want women, especially women who are, escaping really bad marriages or abusive marriages, who maybe have not really spoken their minds for maybe a long time, to just come to us and really just tell us what's what. Tell me the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Don't sugarcoat anything. Just tell it like it is. And tell me what you want. Don't tell me, well, what do you think they might, agree to, or this or that. Just tell me what you want, and let's try to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely echo that. I think honesty, a lot of the times, no matter how bad something is or what they might think is really bad and shouldn't tell us, definitely tell us anyways, because someone's going to bring it up, and it's much better to be able to know about it and address it head on than to find out, kind of during trial what's going on. And I think, so honesty, definitely. And I think kind of trusting the process. I think we have had situations where there's a lot of Googling going on. And so trusting your lawyer is definitely the one thing I really hope people, come to me trusting me. And if you're going to hire me, trust that my advice and trust that I'm trying to do everything I can to help you the best way possible.
Yep, absolutely.
Do you, I'm sorry, do you find that most women in general, because I mean, it just came to my mind that I work with a lot of divorced women, and I'm actually working with 2 women right now that are getting divorced. And these 2 women, they are not particularly my, what you would call an A client. They, they tend to want the cheapest, but the best. And then when I say, and everybody, Darren and Claire can attest to this, I'm an all or nothing gal. You do it and you shut up and you just keep doing it. Do you find that when people come to you, they don't want to be as transparent as they need to be to get through the divorce as quickly as efficient as possible?
Yeah,
do you find
probably.
that people try to hold things back because they don't want to admit any vulnerability, or maybe it was their fault, or maybe they have shared responsibility in the divorce? I mean, I try to talk to these other 2 women as this is not an ending, this is a new beginning. Do you get into the woo woo or the touchy feely on that?
Oh, we definitely get into the touchy feely. I mean, Presley can attest to, we're also basically therapists. So.
Yeah. Yes, we definitely do.
Although I would say the kindest thing my divorce attorney told me was, I am not your therapist, right? And her point was that, like, there are a longer list of people who can help you process this emotionally, including and especially your therapist, who at the time I had a good lawyer before I had a good therapist, and I don't know what order of events that should go in, but both are critical support parts of the process. But the only reason she said that, again, respectfully, was that the clock is ticking and lawyers are expensive because y'all are good at what you do, and you should be, right? But the amount of time we might have been on the phone, if there were some tears, would have been a little longer than if I had worked a bit of that out with my therapist and then gotten that, like, so here's what I'm going to need from our custody agreement to my lawyer. But I love, Sydney, that you said that, and that you both are empathetic enough to do that. And also, let's be practical with our money, right? And use it to its highest and best use, the lawyer and the therapist.
Absolutely.
I have so much to say.
Claire's like, 2 hands up, not 1.
So I've kind of become the poster child for divorced women, and I feel that sometimes. Like, here I am, like I get at least 2 women a week that'll call or text me, like, oh my God, what do I do? Who do I call? All the things. I'm like, well, here's the thing. You can do this the easy way or the expensive way. It is your choice. And right now, you better put your emotions between the lines and shut up. Because it is no longer about you. It is not about him. It is all about your children. And this is just negotiating a contract for your future. And I cut it. And most women do not do that. That's all I did. I was divorced in 31 days. The best compliment I've ever received was from my divorce attorney, who said, I will pay for you to go to law school if you'll come work for me. Swear to God. It is time to take it to the mattresses. I have no mercy. It is a transaction. And women that want to use their children as pawns and want to go into the emotions of he did this, he did that. I really don't care, darling. You did just as much. Shut up. Look out for your well-being and move on. Congratulations will come at another time. It took me a very long time to feel that, but I just can't preach that enough. I mean, we are emotional beings, but this is a case in point in the moment where somebody really has to have a fierce conversation with these people.
That is
Claire,
so true.
I love your 31 days. Mine I'm very proud of is less than 90. But I wonder if we could do the quick, what are the stage gates or constraints? Because 31 is very impressive, and also only a day past what it legally could have been.
Well, you had to have both parties working together as well for that 31 days to happen.
I mean, let's be real clear. I'm trained in sales and I know how to focus on the motivation. And so that's all I did. I'm like, you want out? Let's focus on that.
But like,
because
what are
I'm
the
ready to be done
things?
with you.
What has to
Well, it's a
happen, right? And
business
what are the
deal.
yeah, but what are the like? Okay, so like if you get a call and you're like, I want to get divorced, and want to get divorced as soon as possible, right? What has to happen, and what are the constraints of time in which those things could happen?
What do you need from someone when they get divorced?
Right. I think the first thing, so, we set up a consult, we have free consultations. And so once we have the consult, we'll go through kind of the process and what to expect. The 31 days or doing it in 30 days is usually only applicable to people who are not going to contest terms of the divorce. And so, for example, if you do want to contest it, we have to get the other party served. And so the first step would be, engaging in our services, signing everything, and then we would draft a complaint. And then once the complaint is drafted and the client signs off on it, we'd file it in court. There are still some courts in Arkansas that don't take e-file payments. And so we have to go in person to the courthouse and file those. And so that also could take additional time. And then once that's done, again, if the other party is willing to sign a waiver and waive service, then it can go a lot faster. But if not, we have to get them served, and that can take some time depending on whether or not this other party wants to be divorced, because a lot of times they know it's coming and they will avoid being served.
I'll tell you the fastest. I would say the fastest way you can get divorced is I have people come to me all the time. They've already worked it out with their spouse. They know exactly what they want. They're like, we're going to share joint custody of the kids. This is what the visitation schedule is going to be. This is what I make. This is what he makes. Calculate child support for me. I'm going to keep the house. He's going to move out, or they've already been split up and everything's already done. And then they just come to me and I'm like, all right, well, I can file this complaint. We'll go ahead and draft this decree and, we'll just get it signed and we'll file it on the 31st day. Now, how often does that happen? I think I've done that like 3 times where I actually got it, done that quickly because people actually agreed. But, I would say like a 45-day divorce is, your average uncontested, that 45 to 60-day window. Because sometimes there's a little back and forth. Like I would say most often with the, uncontested or semi-uncontested, people come and they're like, we've agreed on like 80, 90% of stuff. And then I kind of just advise, well, this is what would happen with this. And because somebody will say, oh, well, I'm going to have the kids all the time, but it's okay if he doesn't pay child support. And don't get me started on that because I will go down a rabbit hole. But no, you need child support.
I think you should get started on that real quick. Yeah, I think you should get started on that because I think that's a lot of like, I want this to be quick and painless and I don't, so let's just do it that way. But why is that a problem?
Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's go there.
It's I don't want child support. I don't need his money to raise our kids. I'm sorry. He had an equal part in creating those kids. He's going to pay some money, especially if you have them 80% of the time. If dad's every other weekend, fun dad, blah, blah, blah. Nah, girl. The other thing that drives me insane is women who are like, I just want out right now. I don't care. I don't care if I get any money. I'm like, you have like $100,000 in equity in this house, woman. No, we're going to get your money.
Yeah.
And if they really don't want it, we'll have that talk. We'll sit here and I'll just say, like, listen, do you know how much money you're leaving on the table? I'll pull my paralegal in and he'll come in here and start talking to them like, okay, this is a business deal. Like, if you walk away, you're going to lose this much money, which become this much money next year whenever you put this in a lovely interest-bearing account, because we're going to hook you up with a financial advisor. And if you don't have a therapist already, we're going to hook you up with one of those too. Because again, hourly billing, much better use of time and money to go to your therapist. But yeah, I mean, all the time. And I have to sit here and sometimes they just tell me like, I really don't care. And I'm like, okay, if you really don't. And that just makes my heart sad, I'll tell you. But
I mean, how often are you seeing the scenario though of women being the breadwinner and them paying child support for the man?
A lot.
Well,
yeah,
a lot more
exactly.
often than you think.
Yeah.
Yep. No, I know. I see the numbers, talk about the numbers every week on the news. So I hear that. I was in that scenario and I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Well, if you share joint custody, the way the child support law works now is, I mean, you have 50-50 time, but like, say I'm wife, I make $100,000 a year. Here's husband, he makes $50,000 a year. You have 2 kids and we're sharing 50-50. Wife's going to pay husband child support. unless there's some good reason not to. We can actually, always agree. We call it deviate. We go up or down based on lots of factors. So like maybe mom's paying all the kids' health insurance and mom's going to pay for their summer care, so dad agrees, okay, it's fine. You don't pay me child support, or vice versa. But
and so there have been changes to the laws in regards to the 50-50 custody, and many have looked at that as favoring fathers. And can you speak to that? What does that change? I don't know the law. I've heard about it. I've heard people talk about it as if, they made the law. So I need someone to tell me, what is it?
So they changed the law to where joint custody, there's a rebuttable presumption that joint custody is in the best interest of the children. And typically what that looks like is week on, week off, or it's a 2-2-3. And so that leaves you in a situation where there's 3 ways really for a person to get full custody. It's either you meet the presumption and you show, this other parent, it's not in the best interest for the kid to be with them half the time. Or the second way, logistically, you guys can't share joint custody because of the distance. Or third, you agree. And so we have a lot of situations. It comes up a lot in paternity actions where they weren't married. Dad comes back and is like, hey, I want visitation. I want custody. Dad's never had a relationship with this kid. But because of the law, unless you can prove that he's unfit, a lot of the time they get 50-50. Or if parents, are married and mom stayed home with the baby, all the time, breastfed, did all of that. And dad's like, okay, well, I get 50-50 now. And you're like, you don't know even what to do with the baby, but you're still going to get 50-50 because we can't, there's nothing to prove that you're unfit. And it's a really, really high standard. I mean, these parents, if you don't get joint custody, like if it's not in the best interest, we're looking at drug usage, sexual abuse, emotional, like really bad emotional.
The big bad.
Yeah.
The big bad things. Yeah.
So it's
drugs,
really
alcohol abuse.
And I do think I've had some clients who have chosen to stay with people longer for that reason, more than financial reasons, just because they understand that if they were to leave their partner, they wouldn't see their kid as much. And I think some people, and it's really sad because I strongly believe that everyone deserves happiness and deserves to be in a, safe, loving relationship. But also as a mom, I kind of I can also see that side of giving up the time and why women do choose sometimes to stay. It's really sad. I'm not a fan of the law change. I mean, for my male clients, I am, because I'm like, okay, this gives you this opportunity to come in and be a part of their lives. But most of my clients are female and moms. And it hurts to have those conversations, especially
I was about to say, especially with my clients who are breastfeeding infants. I have a client and it was really sad because dad was fully supportive. And then all of a sudden dad started, it got abusive after the baby came. And mom couldn't stay, obviously. And I'm so glad she didn't. But dad fought us and dad gets 2 days on, 2 days off with baby. And, if mom doesn't provide enough breast milk, it's fine. He can supplement with formula, which is fine. I was a formula fed baby. I don't, I don't care. Fed is best. Right. But, if that's what they agreed to do, and then now dad's like, I don't really care. And so that sucks. And then of course you're changing every 2 days with a 3-4 month old infant. That's not fun either, but that's the reality now. So.
And I think we get asked that a lot about the breastfeeding issue. About, I'm breastfeeding, I can't do joint custody. And majority of the judges, at least the judges I've been in front of, the position is they can have formula or you can pump it. And I don't get into those conversations with judges, but it is, I think there's a lot of complexities with breastfeeding that are just really hard to try to explain. And I usually am on the losing side of that argument, and they just say,
not for nothing, but I'm curious, just on average, how many of the judges y'all are in front of are women? Just as you're saying that, and it's not, I understand the law is the law, but also, lived experience really influences how you understand facts. Facts are facts, but if you have boobs and a vagina and you've breastfed a baby, you're going to understand. No, you're going to understand what you're saying in a slightly different way than perhaps you did or didn't watch your wife breastfeed a baby. And I don't know the data on the bench in Arkansas, but I would imagine it's not a ton of female judges. And I just think that's an interesting side of what what you're raising.
Yeah, they've
There's-
I'd
never pumped
say-
their penis for milk.
Oh my gosh. I think there's
Well,
two
the
that
story
were-
I just told,
What?
the story I was just talking about was a female judge,
Mm.
and she talked at the bench. She talked about how she breastfed her children, and that, you know, that's their choice, and mom has the ability to pump, and that's why she chose the 2-day on, 2-day off schedule, so
Yeah.
mom would have time
Wow.
to pump enough. But like, if she can't pump enough, too bad, so sad. She did not care. So
I've had a really good
That's-
experience
Wow.
with female judges. There's 2 judges I'm in front of a lot, and I had one judge recently. I was arguing about how mom should get reimbursement in a divorce for her C-section hospital bills. And the judge was like, yeah, C-sections are really expensive and mom couldn't work. And like, she was so supportive. And I'm not saying I wouldn't have had that reaction from a man, but I was really grateful that I had that woman backing me up on that. But yeah, I think out of all the judges we practice in front of, there's really only 2 women that I'm in front
Out
of.
of how many? Like 10 or 20 or 30? Like,
20, 30.
yeah, I'm
Well,
just
Presley
curious. I'm
practices-
just curious.
Presley's practice is more like in some of the rural counties. Like Presley, like does what counties do you do? Johnson, Conway.
Yeah, Johnson,
Hope.
Pope, Franklin, Conway, Yale County, which those are the same kind of
Ooh.
districts. Yeah, I'm out in Dardanelle and Danville. And then
Yeah.
Pulaski, Saline. But like Saline's all men.
Mhm.
We
the
Pulaski have
judges
more
are elected?
women for sure.
Yes.
Yes. All judges are elected. By the way,
judges-
make sure you vote. I have no idea when this is going to air, but the judges' elections are on March 5th. So
Yep, and they're doing early voting. I
Well,
guess
that's
it was in
primary
Johnson
day. I'm
County.
sure there's
so
early voting going on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
early voting has already started as your local friendly
Yeah.
election commissioner. Go early vote right now.
So, I mean, I you know, my father and brother are both attorneys, so I was raised in a litigating household. I heard many a things growing up of advice to clients and things. So, when I had to armor myself in this situation, it was almost second nature. And so it was interesting of, you know, how to open new accounts and different things, and then start keeping a journal and a log and what documents I needed and all these things. I knew that. I was raised in that. Most don't. And so when you go and you need to start equipping yourself with those things and those items, what is the list? What is it that you need? No, it's a thing. It's a
Yeah,
Oh,
thing.
it's a thing. Well, I'll
It's
definitely
a definite.
tell
It's
you
a,
if
it's
you
a definite thing, and that should be the
Oh, yeah.
financial advisor's job that you're working with. They should be
Mm-hmm.
more of a coach and a guide and a mentor for
Mhm.
the after divorce 1 year, get everything together. You know, make sure that all of your finances are separated and that you actually have a goal and a process to start saving money. The biggest issue that I've run into with the after divorce clients that I have is the animosity that's still there about the money. And I try to get people to just, you know, stay present, practice your presence, you know, not really think about the past, not really think about the future, that, you know, whatever dollars that you do have right now are yours and no one can take those away from you. And it's also kind of an energy thing too, is that now you're divorced, now you need to get rid of the anger that you actually
Mhm.
put yourself in that situation, because
Yeah.
everybody makes that choice to be in that marriage and then actually to make that choice to get out of that marriage. You know, and going back to the negotiation of the contract, you're actually negotiating a lifetime contract that you agreed that you were going to stay in for the rest of your life. And, you know, the business of divorce, I have seen it get nasty, but when you have 2 people in the marriage that have, I call it wherewithal and some substance to where they both have careers and they both have their own money, sometimes it's easier to get through those contract negotiations. When you sit down with a female client, do you have like an exorbitant amount of questions? Do you give them a questionnaire? You know, are there lots of forms? Do you have them kind of write out an essay, which is also a little bit of therapy in that? Because I have just like Claire, I have people that contact me and say, I think I'm going to get a divorce. What do I do? Well, I refer them to my divorce attorney referral partner. And she has, it's about 25 pages front and back, to where if that person, that woman gets through that form and that questionnaire, they know exactly what they want to achieve from the divorce.
Well, that sounds awesome. Press, do we need to beef up our intake form? I think ours is like 7.
Yeah,
I think ours is like 7 pages.
Yeah.
We do everything electronically. So, we do a little DocuSign, PDF fillable forms, all that good stuff. But
I think we had to build. I remember, like we created our intake forms.
We
'Cause
did.
I can't
So
even
we could
imagine
beef them
creating
up.
full 25. Oh, that sounds so long.
I kind of want to give them the option to write us a narrative now. I'm interested. I'm
They
interested.
can write a narrative. They ask, like, is there anything else you should know? And some people will be like, nope, nothing else. And then some people will write 3 pages.
Yeah.
But
That's
the intake forms are extremely beneficial because they ask, what property are we disputing? What accounts there are? I mean, I go back all the time and look at the intake forms to see what people originally wanted and like where we're at compared to what they originally wanted.
And one thing that's really useful about that is because sometimes people's priorities start to shift because they get madder and madder and madder through the process. And I'm like, wait, let's just take it back. When I first met you, you said if you could get this, 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 and this, that you would be happy. And now that's not true. Let's talk about why. But in any case.
Yeah, now they want a blood sample. You know.
Yeah, you got to keep reminding people about what they want.
Yeah. And, back to your point, Brandy Jo, forgiveness is what we're discussing. And so forgiveness starts with self. And that's what people miss. And so once we forgive self, then we're able to forgive others, which is a key thing.
Okay, but before forgiveness, especially if you're getting divorced, says the woman who got divorced 2 years ago to the woman who got divorced 8 years ago, you have to have an anger window. And I suggest that the anger I suggest that the legal proceedings not be the outlet for the anger, but the anger has to go somewhere before you can get to the forgiveness part. Even if it's like the most amicable divorce, you're ripping what you thought your life was going to be apart and creating something else for your life. And there's literally no way to get from point A to point B without grief and anger. It doesn't have
100%.
to be for years and years, but like it has to go somewhere. Most of mine went to my female friends and went to brunch. Unfortunately, they didn't bill me for it. Some of it went to my therapist. A bit of it went to my poor lawyer. But but it does have to go somewhere. And then I agree with you completely, Claire. I love how you talk about the contract for your future, right? Like ultimately, you want a clear head to negotiate the best contract for your future.
Yeah.
Which you can't do angry, but you kind of have to.
My anger went through axe throwing. And I'm now really good at it. And I've even priced getting it put in my backyard. I'm not kidding. And I found a portable one at Costco. And so I could even take it and set it up at your yard if you invite me over. So I know. I totally agree that the anger must come before the forgiveness. I have to get angry at myself. I have to get angry at you. I have to get angry at the death of my dream. Is what it is. Well,
I want to speak to this a little bit real quick before we get sidetracked because I'm loving this. I'm loving this conversation. The thing that I find about women, and this has happened to me personally, and I'm sure y'all can speak to this too, is that most of the time, by the time a woman is sitting here in my office, they've already processed a lot of that. They've processed some of the anger. They've processed some of the grief. By the time women are ready to get out of the relationship, they've been done for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every time, unless there's, some major life altering event that happens, out of the blue. But a lot of times, right, there's new anger that comes with the divorce because people aren't agreeable. They, bury us in motions and they do this and that. And they set unnecessary court dates and they run up my client's bill because I have to respond to all this unnecessary crap. And then there's a lot of anger that comes with that too.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the ways that I definitely encourage my clients to, other than individual therapy is, especially if there's kids, co-parenting therapy is really, really important. There's a really fabulous co-parenting therapist that we recommend here in Little Rock, especially for the hard cases. And she hears a lot of my venting and I get a lot of hers too. But it's a good way to vent some of that frustration to each other, as long as you're not, bringing it to I don't know what the word I'm looking
and
for.
The axe throwing. The axe throwing,
Yes,
I
and the
think,
axe throwing.
was a
It's
really
essential.
important suggestion.
It's very good. It's a part of life where you're shedding to create space for the new. And you've got to look at it. It's a rebirth in many ways, and then look forward to what's to come. And I think you'll be surprised. I know my ex-husband was really surprised a year later when I thanked him for leaving. And so, I mean, I was too. I never anticipated feeling that way. And so it's really great. I'm so grateful for where life has taken me now, and it never would have happened. Never would have happened. Nothing in my life is what it is without the divorce. I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
So
I love
grateful.
that.
It's a great outlook. Yeah, absolutely.
It really is.
Yeah.
I love getting those updates from my clients. I have one that I finalized her divorce a little over a year ago. And she emailed me last weekend and asked me if we could go for happy hour soon, because she wanted to tell me about all the wonderful things that have happened in her life since I got her divorce.
It's amazing.
So.
Well, I'm so grateful for the time spent with y'all today. Thank you so much for serving like you do, and then sharing it like you have, so that we can help so many. And please tell people how to contact you, because conversations are free. And you empower yourself through the knowledge, through conversations. And so I encourage anyone that is looking at this potential phase of life, or in it now, or knows someone that is, to reach out to you girls for a free conversation. And so how can they do that?
Well, they can call us. Our phone number is 501-835-6792. You can email us at info@trm-llp.com. Or let me see. I'm sure there's other ways too. We have Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook Messenger.
Yep. Well, thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, this is a hot topic and it's so needed. So I really appreciate your help and your transparency and all you're doing.
Well, thank you, Claire, and thanks for just hosting the PowerWomen platform in general.
Absolutely.
We love you. We love the PowerWomen Facebook group. We love the podcast. I have a copy of Ring or Fling in the conference room, just so you know.
Yes.
And I encourage my clients to check that out.
Yes, so. They all need it for their next journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Y'all have a great weekend.
Thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, please rate and review on iTunes. And check out our website, thepowerwomen.org.